Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Defining Discipline podcast. I'm your host, Scott. Defining discipline is a lifestyle, a mentality, and a brand. And within this podcast, we're going to focus on self improvement as you follow along with me on my journey. We'll also hear from special guests of all walks of life on this podcast and their remarkable journeys that led them to where they are today. Today is day 250 of my journey. At the beginning of the year, I challenged myself to run 365 days in a row, all outside, bearing the elements, whatever they may bring. I also challenged myself to run 1,500 miles within this time frame. Now, this is my second full year ever running. Within the first full year of running at the age of 31, I was able to run 1,002 miles, and I did that within 175 days out of the year in 2020. So, me going for 1,500 miles this year is over a 50% increase in the amount of miles as opposed to the miles I ran last year. And me going for 365 days in a row is over a 100% increase in the amount of days I'll be running as opposed to the amount of days I ran last year. Not to mention, this year is all days, like I said, in a row with no days off in between. I also challenged myself within this time frame to run two big major races. One of those races being an ultra marathon 50K trail race. That was the Yankee Springs 50K trail race in Middleville, Michigan. I finished that on June 5th of this year. That was day 156 of my journey, so I was able to get that done and keep the streak alive. I got that finished within 7 hours, 15 minutes, and 22 seconds, so not the best time, but I finished. So really stoked about that. Now, the next race I have coming up within this time frame is an actual just regular marathon. That is the Detroit Free Press Marathon. I will be running the Motor City Challenge within that race, which entails me running the competitive mile and the competitive 5K the day before running the actual full marathon. So looking forward to that race as well. That one is coming up in October. To be exact, I think it's the 16th or 18th. I don't have it the exact day, but we're about a month and 10 days out from that. So really looking forward to it, and just kind of in the preparation for it right now. So trying to keep some decent mileage up for the month of September, and then towards the beginning of October, kind of start really the taper on the amount of miles, and get really into the zone. I've been trying to also focus in on diet and all of that. But other than that, let's kind of just talk about mileage for the day today, day 250. Like I said, I got out there again today and put in only 3.5 miles. Yesterday I put in 7, but just today was a little tight. Body was a little sore, just wasn't feeling it. Was going to maybe put in a little bit more because I had a little bit of extra time. Thankfully I didn't, but that's another story for another time. But was like I said, was able to still get out there, put in 3.5 miles, not the quickest time, but now I think I'm going to still try to put in some decent mileage, but keep it at a little bit slower pace to get ready for, trying to up my towards the end of the week, maybe put in a good decent run at a faster pace. Anywho though, let's continue on with the miles. So again, today was day 250 with 3.5 miles. That put me at 10.6 miles for the week, which put me at 33.9 miles for the month, which put me at 1,146 miles for the year. So let's focus in on these monthly miles. Every single month, I challenge myself to a 100-mile challenge. I do it in honor of a charity in which I donate money to, as well as I start a coinciding fundraiser to try to raise more money and awareness for that charity throughout that month. So for the first 8 months, we were able to raise money for 8 great charities. Now we're sitting here within the 9th month, the month of September, and September's 100-mile monthly challenge is in honor of the National Rise Syndrome Foundation. We chose that foundation or that charity for this month here in September because September is Rise Syndrome Awareness Month. So, other than that, let's kind of talk about the donations. If you would like to actually donate to this fundraiser, you can find the link to do so on the Defining Discipline Instagram or Facebook story, or my personal page's Instagram or Facebook story. Within those stories, you click on the link, it'll open up the actual Facebook page where you're able to make your donations. All donations that get made to this fundraiser go directly to this fundraiser. Facebook is not taking any cuts or any portion of your donations. So keep that in mind when you're making them. You don't have to worry about any of your donations going to an outside source. They're all going to this charity and this cause. I do know times are tough, though. Not everyone is able to make donations. So if that is the case, the next best thing you could do is just click that share button. We're trying to, again, raise awareness for these causes throughout these months. And the best way to do that is to get as many eyes on them as possible. I only know so many of you only follow this page. So the best way to do it is, if you see it, just click on it, click share, ask other people to share it as well. Again, we're trying to raise awareness for these causes as well as money. And by raising awareness, we may even raise more money because of that. So keep that in mind. Do not be afraid to click that share button. Let's truly try to get it out there and get as many eyes on it as possible. So other than that, we will get ready to get into today's episode. But before we officially get into it, we're going to talk about the word of the day. We've been doing a word of the day, following along with Merriam-Webster's word of the day. And today's word of the day is suborn. So suborn means to persuade someone to do something illegal, such as lie in a court of law. It can also mean to obtain false testimony from a witness by persuasion. Suborn. That is today's word of the day. That was a pretty interesting one as well. So, we've been screenshotting these last few, almost every single day for the last few weeks, because there have been some pretty good word of the days. Other than that, though, let's get actually into today's episode. Episode 250. It was kind of by mistake, but we're going to piggyback off the last two episodes. The last two episodes kind of just fell into this order. Looking back at 248, I was kind of a little upset because I wanted to, after the fact, I wanted to go back and do just kind of how the sequence is, 2, 4, 8. I thought it was a cool number, but I didn't do that. The theme for 248 was spark. The theme for 249 is fuel. So for today, day 250, today's theme is going to be ignite, possibly ignition. They both mean the same thing, ignite and ignition. So for today's so for today's theme, let's get into ignite. And all I wanted again to kind of talk about ignite is kind of piggyback off of the last 2 days episodes. Yesterday's episode more about fuel, as in the actual fuel I am consuming and taking in. But on the other note of fuel in general, sometimes you just need something to fuel your ambitions, and fuel your wants and your actions and things like that. You need something to fuel you to really go out there and try to get what you want to get done. And again, sometimes it's the same thing as a spark. The idea of the spark was sometimes it is something that really sparks it up. And when you put those two together, which are kind of the same thing, spark and fuel in that aspect, you are going to ignite something. You are going to put it to flame. You're going to actually get it started up and get it going again. And again, since we are kind of following along with my running, that is kind of what I've been doing. I've been trying to really ignite myself back into running, because August I truly fell off hard. Wasn't really expecting August to be as low mileage as it was. I just broke 110 miles, I think, for the month of August. And that's not an awful thing or anything like that, but coming off of July with 200 miles, my body and mentally, I just wasn't there in August. So I really needed that spark and that fuel to get me going. And I ended the last 2 days in August strong, and then I started the month of September, especially getting through that first week, 5 days, but the first week, including those 2 days that ended August. So getting through that really helped ignite the drive back in me to really get back out there and get back into training, trying to really push myself a little bit more, still listening to my body, but kind of going by the Goggins 40% rule. Whenever you start feeling it, knowing that I'm just kind of my body's probably really at 40%. It's just the fight or flight instinct kicking in, telling myself, give up, you're doing good enough. Like, I can definitely tell when things are starting to get tight. Like I said, today was a kind of a tight run, so it wasn't the fastest run, and it wasn't the greatest run. But I got out there, put in still a pretty decent time, pretty decent mileage. But to really know the difference between maybe an injury coming up or just your body being sore, and that's something I've been really trying to focus on. I think throughout the month of August, I kind of fell off of that, and I really just kind of listened to my body and let my mind take over from there. So my body's like, yeah, I'm kind of sore and kind of tired. My mind could have been like, yeah, but you could push it a little bit harder. But my mind was just giving in and saying, yep, let's do the bare minimum. Let's do the bare minimum. So I kind of got out of that mentality. Still, there's days I get out there. It's been only, 7, 8, 9 days since those 2 days that ended August, where I went really strong and kind of turned everything around. But throughout those 9 days, even today was a prime example. Just really not feeling it. Was gonna maybe go out for a little bit more mileage, and then and it kind of said, no, we'll just go with 3.5. And then within that, I told myself, you know what? No, we're gonna push it again to right under 5. That seems good. But then I got to that one turning point where it's like I can continue on for the 5, where I can turn and make it 3.5. And again, I changed my mind, where it's like, you know what? I do need just a rest today. I do need to get back. It'll give me a little bit more time to focus on getting this uploaded, working on this, getting a few things done around the house again before tomorrow at work. I do got to go back into work super early tomorrow, a little bit earlier than I had been the last few days. So I wanted to maybe try to get to bed a little bit earlier tonight. So I decided, let my body, I guess, and my mind, just let my weak system or weak mentality take over there, and tell myself to just take it easy today, and let's go back at it and get and attack it again tomorrow a little bit harder. So that is kind of the plan. But again, today's episode is about igniting yourself and finding that fuel and combining it with that spark and getting something really going to get you motivated and get you back into the grind of things. Because when we use that as an example, because we're talking about fuel, spark, and igniting. Let's say your actual wood, whatever it is, your substance you are burning, is wet. It's going to be almost impossible to one, if it's wet, and even the things your tools are using to try to light it, it's going to be hard to get a spark. Two, it's going to be hard truly to ignite it. And even you could throw as much fuel on it as you want, but if you can't get that spark, it's going to be hard to ignite. And even if you're able to get it ignite, if it's too wet, it's going to actually just suffocate the fire out, and you won't be able to burn anything and get the actual ignition going. So we come to these points within our lives where our wood's wet, our wood's soaked, and it almost seems impossible to get it to dry out. It almost seems impossible to one, even get a spark going, and you got stuff that's kind of fueling you, and you're pouring it all over it, but you're still, the wood is just still too wet to actually burn and to actually ignite and spark. So again, these three things kind of work hand in hand. That's why I wanted, after I accidentally put spark and fuel back to back, I was like, boom, ignite, because they all three coexist. You can spark and spark and spark. Yes, you may get something to ignite, but it's so much easier to get to ignite if you had the fuel. Now, you can have the fuel, but if without the spark, you will not get anything to ignite. You can pour fuel all over stuff all you want, but without some kind of spark or flame to get that to start and ignite, It's just never going to. And like I said, you can ignite things maybe with just a spark without much fuel, but you still need a substance to burn, which is sort of a fuel. Like wood is fuel. So really, spark, fuel, ignite, they all go together. And like I said, we can all be in points in our lives where our wood's wet, and we're pouring all the fuel on it, and we're trying to spark it up, but it's just not igniting. And um, it doesn't when we're in those points in our lives, it doesn't mean to give up. Maybe sometimes we need to rethink and reevaluate and reapproach things. Um, Sometimes we need just to be persistent, because same thing with wet wood. Yes, you can take a spark to it, throw some fuel on it, light it up, and it'll light up for a second and then burn out, suffocate out because it's wet. But you continuously do that over and over and over and over again. If you had an endless amount of spark and fuel to continuously do that, um, eventually you're going to dry that wood out, and that wood is going to ignite, and it's going to stay ignited, and it's going to burn. Um, so even the wettest of wood can ignite. It can burn. It's just going to take time, persistence, and lots of fuel and lots of spark to get there. So when, again, as a metaphor, when you're in a life, or in your life, when you're at a point where you don't have any spark and you don't have any fuel, and you're trying to really get things going, you're really trying to ignite things, you got to find some spark, you got to find some fuel, you got to go out there and find a reason to really get moving and push yourself even harder than you've been pushing yourself. And I promise you, you will get that ignition going. So that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about for the day today, guys. So for the daily discipline today, day 250, it is to get out there and ignite. Figure out what your spark is, figure out what your fuel is, and let's get it started. Life is short, guys. Really, let's put our nose to the grindstone. Let's get the lighters going. Let's get the flame going. Let's throw some fuel in there, and let's ignite this bad boy up. Let's get it going. So really ignite your life. Figure out what it is you want to be doing, and it doesn't necessarily, again, have to be money wise or anything. It could be money wise. It could be anything you want. Whatever in your life you think you need to be more disciplined and really focus on. Whatever it may be. Maybe it's exercise, like I said. Maybe it's money problems. Maybe it's a different path. Whatever the case may be, you need to really find that spark, that fuel, and really ignite. So for your daily discipline today, guys, it is to think and to truly ignite it. Find that spark. Find that you already found the spark. You already found the fuel from we're talking about the past episodes. Now ignite it, guys. Figure out what you have to do to get yourself going on the right path, and start doing it. Like, just do it, because the longer you wait, the more harder it's going to get. The wetter your wood is going to get. The harder it's going to be to dry out and get ready to use as fuel to burn. So that is your daily discipline for the day today, day 250. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for following along and listening to the Defining Discipline podcast. I'm your host, Scott. I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 251. But before that, can you guys please give the podcast a like, a subscribe, a share, a follow on our Facebook, our TikTok, our YouTube, our Instagram, and whatever podcast streaming platform you've been following along on. Again, thank you guys so much. This has been a great journey. 250 days in a row. Seems honestly surreal and unbelievable, especially at times. And then, some days I get up and just don't even really feel like getting out there and running, and then looking, being like, well, I am this far in. I better get my butt out there. And again, it's just it's been a roller coaster of emotions throughout these 250 days. Both great, both bad and sad. So I've been up and down, and it's been a great journey, and I'm glad I've been documenting it and kind of just talking about it. So very, very thankful for that. 250 days officially in the book. I'll see you guys tomorrow for episode 251. And until then, stay disciplined and peace out, guys.